guys. Where's Evan at? We kind of have a show right now, so.
What do you call it?
That's a good idea. Let me call him right now.
Hey, Casey, what's up?
Evan, the show's starting right now. You know the one you're hosting?
Oh my gosh, I'll be right there.
God.
Thurber, what are you doing here? This is the wrong show. Do you want to go to the right one? Do you have time? Okay, let's do this. Hey guys! How's everybody doing? Well, I'm your host, Evan Sanford, and it's so great to have you all here for the first episode ever of Redlands Tonight. Thank you so much, guys. It really means a lot. Okay. Can't we afford a nicer sign like the real shows? Oh, my goodness. Well, for those that don't know, we're live at the Frederick Lowe Theater here at the University of Redlands, and what makes this so special is that we have you guys here with us tonight. Redlands Tonight is going to be a program where we feature the very best that the University of Redlands has to offer. You can expect to see students. Does that say prostates? Okay, someone's got to get a spell check or something on the teleprompter. I'm pretty sure that meant to say students, professors, faculties, and administrators that contribute to the community in unique ways. There are so many fantastic people here, and I can't wait to have a chance to sit down with them and hear what wonderful things they're doing. Well, how's this for a segue? Anybody want to talk about the debate? Okay, well, that's fantastic. Did you know that there's actually a fourth presidential debate happening right now? And as a public service to you, we're going to cut live to that right now. So, Rhonda?
You are a big fat joke.
I'm a man who discovered the wheel and built the Eiffel Tower out of metal and brawn. That's what kind of man I am. You're just a woman with a small brain. With a brain a third the size of us. It's science.
I will have you know that I have more talent and more intelligence in my little finger than you do in your entire body, sir.
You are a smelly pirate hooker.
You look like a blueberry.
Why don't you go back to your home on Whore Island?
Well, you have bad hair.
What did you say?
I said, your hair looks stupid.
Well, I'm pretty sure that's the scene from Anchorman, not the fourth presidential debate, but I think that accurately depicts what would have happened if there was a fourth presidential debate. On a more serious note, according to the Pew Research Center, voters between the ages of 18 and 35 make up nearly 1/3 of the American electorate. We're now tied with baby boomers as the biggest voting bloc, and as far as other generations, not even close. We are a huge political force. Just look at the 2016 Democratic primaries. We millennials loved Bernie Sanders. We felt the burn, so we set a political scene on fire, and we made a difference. Did you know that in Florida, voters under 30 chose Bernie over Hillary by a 64% margin? That's why he won. Oh, wait, he didn't win because we didn't show up. He lost. I guess you can't feel the burn unless you light a match. Hashtag dad joke. In 2015... In 2015, President Obama said that if everybody voted, then it would completely change the political map in this country because the people who tend not to vote are young. That's putting it mildly. Youth of America, it's time for some straight talk. By not voting, we send a message to our political establishment. We're telling them that we don't care about the political process. We're saying that our social issues really don't matter that much. The Atlantic described how uniquely progressive our generation is. We're farther to the left than any other group in this country on issues like immigration, gay rights, marijuana legalization, income inequality, climate change, police brutality, and of course, college debt. But we keep staying home. We're not mailing in our ballots. We just don't vote. This is an important election, and every election is important, but it's not just about the federal government. Local elections matter just as much. How many of us know the details about Prop 56 or 58, 60, 65? How many propositions are on the ballot? Who's running for state senate? Do you see what I mean? The Knight Foundation found that the median age of voters in local elections was 60. That's good for the baby boomers, but that's shameful for us. We millennials are never going to see a political revolution if we treat politics like movies, only showing up for the blockbusters. We have to treat it like Netflix. It's time to binge watch the local and federal laws and leaders that are going to shape our lives. If we don't, we're really not going to enjoy the new season. So before we move on to the rest of the show, there's just one item of housekeeping I want to attend to. I want to thank some people who without them, this night would just not be possible. First, a big thank you to Professor Doolittle and Thurber for making us that bit there. Next, my cameraman, Nick Graff, Wes Rasmussen, and Alessandra Traeger. Contributors, Miriam, Thomas, and Sharon. Simone, my graphic designer. Audio engineer, Rhonda. Head writer, Combs. My technical director, Austin Tribble. I'd like to thank my producer, Sam Akuda. And finally, my executive in charge of production, Casey Coffin. My sincere thanks to all of you. All right, we've got a great show tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in. We've got Ariana Savci, Chloe Conrad, and the Redlands Rhapsodies here tonight. But first, political science professor Art Svensson is well known and respected at the University of Redlands. He recently returned from China after spending another 6 months there after teaching constitutional law. Would you please welcome our very first guest to Redlands tonight, Professor Art Svensson. Thank you so much. Thank you. Welcome to the show. So, what is it like being our first guest? No
Scary.
pressure, right?
Scary.
Well, let's talk about China. What was your favorite moment and part of your trip to China?
Oh. I've been there twice for these Fulbrights, and so I can think back now over almost an entire year being in China. And actually, the great part of China for me was not so much teaching there, but actually going there to adopt my family. And so that's how I got interested in going to China in the first place. My wife and I met each other late in life, and we looked at each other one day and we said, let's have kids. And then we said, how? And then we said, let's adopt. And then we decided China, and off we went. And so we've made trips twice to China to build a family, one time in 2003 and one time in 2005. So those are the moments, to tell you the truth, literally unrelated to Fulbright, that are the most important moments for me about our lives in China. But
so,
having been there, we wanted to go back.
Right. But what was it about China that said, that's the place I want to go to?
Gosh, that's actually a very difficult question to answer.
Okay.
When we were thinking about building a family and deciding how to adopt, there was a very close friend of ours. Her name was Carol Forrestal, and she teaches here in the biology department. And when Nancy and I were figuring out what to do, Carol went to China and adopted this beautiful little baby. And so she arrives back just about the time where Nancy and I were trying to figure out what to do. And we just decided China. And it's a decision we have never regretted at all.
Well, talk to us about why it's so amazing that you have had an opportunity to do 2 Fulbright scholarships.
Yeah.
It's amazing that people get one, let alone 2.
I'm very lucky. There's just no doubt about it. And I did it in 2011, and then I did it again just this year. So they're difficult to get. They just really are. So I have to tell you, I sat one summer in my office at the Hall of Letters and just thought about it and wrote about it, and one draft after another. And it took me the entire summer. And then I had a lot of people read what I had written to make sure it was okay, compelling, I think it's the argument that they want to see. And so it was a long process, and I managed to pull it off twice. The first time, I actually applied for 3 Fulbrights. The very first one, it was rejected because I said I would go in my application to China to teach about free speech, free press, religion, all the First Amendment freedoms in our Constitution. And then I said we would talk about unreasonable searches and seizures, and cruel and unusual punishment, privilege against self-incrimination, all the good, controversial things that you find in the Bill of Rights. And so I sent that off, and China, it has to be approved by the United States government, and then it has to be approved by China. And so I said, I want to go to China to talk about free speech and press and religion, and China said no.
Really?
Yeah. And so,
wow.
I was just young and naive. And so I took my application to my dear friend Graham Otten, and he said, basically, what were you thinking? And so I thought maybe I would just let this sit for a summer or 2 summers and then revisit it. And I did. And then the second application, I said I want to go to China to teach American government and let it go at that. And China said yes, the United States government said yes, and then I went off to China and taught free speech, press, religion, unreasonable searches and seizures, all the good stuff.
Talk to us about some of the students that you taught while you were in China.
Okay, that's also a very good question.
At least this one's not difficult.
It's a great question. I love to talk about this because I fell in love with Chinese students. I've been in love with Redlands students for 35 years, but this was a new experience. So they sent me to this town called Chengdu. It's got 17 million people, and Chengdu is in the southwest part of China. And there's this elite university that is in Chengdu. It's called Sichuan Daxue, Sichuan University. It's the 5th-ranked school in all of China. That's what they say. So I arrive, and somebody is showing me my classrooms. It turns out they don't have a political science department. They don't do political science. They don't do government. They have classes in Mao, and that's their poli-sci department. So I wouldn't fit. So where do I fit? That university put me into graduate classes filled with American and British literature students. So there I was with British, American lit students, and I'm holding kind of my literature, which is the United States Constitution. And how was this going to play out? Would they come along with me? Would we have a great time with this legal literature, not British lit and American lit? Could we make progress? And so it was a rough week or 2, I would say. And then we just decided that we would have great fun together. And I taught 2 classes, and both were filled with 21 students apiece. And we just had a blast. We met, classes in China meet once a week for 2 hours. Every student takes 9 or 10 classes. They're in class literally all week. And so on 2 days, Monday afternoon and Tuesday evening, we sat around a seminar table and talked con law. It was great fun. They're very curious. Chinese students about American ways.
What was one of your favorite lectures that you gave to the Chinese students?
Oh, gosh. There's a day where, in constitutional law, I introduce students to the lawmaking power of the President of the United States. And that's a power that we call executive orders. And executive orders, that phrase, is not found anywhere in the Constitution, but it evolved over a period of time. And there's a famous story that it's at the very heart of a con law opinion called Inra Nagel. And it's a great story to share with students. I'm not about to do it here, but it's a great story. And I can remember just walking in one day and saying there's this great story, and I think maybe that on that day in China, I did this story better than I ever have before, right? Maybe that was the best time I ever told that story. And it just felt to me that they were there with me and really, really got it. So when the day is over, a really difficult concept, presidential lawmaking power, was a part of their vocabulary, and it was a great reward.
That has to
great
be so
rewarding.
Satisfying as a professor to feel that connection.
Then we all went out and had noodles for dinner and stuff like that. It was just great.
Well, how did the University of Redlands feel about what you were doing in China?
Well, I think they're very proud of faculty who have had Fulbright experiences, almost irrespective of what we teach. Fulbright awards are hard to get, and I think it brought some prestige to the university. So the administration and my colleagues were extremely supportive of me sending off these applications, and when I got it, they were just very happy. I'm surely not the first one to get a Fulbright at this school. I follow a long line of important professors at this school. In addition, by the way, to I think we're up to 20 student Fulbright scholarships.
I think Redlands is named a top Fulbright Scholar producer.
Yeah, and Jack Osborne is the legend behind making that happen.
Mm-hmm.
So,
how did your family feel about the move to China?
Well, it was all good. It was all good. But my daughter, who we adopted in 2005, was beginning 6th grade. And so she was there for half of the year. Then we pulled her out with my wife, and off to China we went. So she missed, as you might imagine, her best friends in junior high school. Now they call it middle school. So it was difficult, but when we got there and we took Ellie to her international school, and she met wonderful friends, it was terrific. It was terrific. So she worked through that period of time, I think, with great grace and with great intelligence, and I was extremely proud of her. So that part of it was really good.
Is there anything else you wanted to talk about while we're here?
Maybe I could give a plug for.
Sure.
I'm not exactly sure of the date. I think it's the week before we have our Thanksgiving break.
Okay.
So either a Wednesday or a Thursday. City of Hope will be on our campus for a blood drive, and they also have a time where you can, if you want to, register for bone marrow, to be a part of the bone marrow registry. And I say this because we built a family based on 2 trips to China. The first time we were there in 2003, we got an 8-month-old little girl named Cece, and in 2005, it's 14-month-old Ellie. When we came back from our first Fulbright, Cece got sick. And lo and behold, she had leukemia. And 6 months into that, after we came home, the lights literally went out in our life. Cece passed away. But this school has been so supportive of my family, and so they bring the City of Hope here every year, and it's a blood drive in honor of my daughter. And she is smiling when this happens. She's always smiling, to tell you the truth. That's just the kind of person that she was. But anyway.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Yeah. And the school's lucky to have you and your family as part of that. And we're lucky to have
Thanks
you.
for having me, Evan.
And thank you so much for being our first guest on the show. Well, we'll be right back with more Redlands Tonight right after this.
Thanks, Evan.
Hey everybody, welcome back. We're now going to go to our next segment we're calling Debate Prep. Can we have 2 volunteers from the audience? Oh gosh, you guys look like you're excited to be here. Come on down. Thank you so much for volunteering. So, we're going to have one of you play Donald Trump and the other play Hillary Clinton. Each of you will be given cue cards, and I'm going to ask you questions, and your responses, which you have to say, are going to be written on these cue cards here. For the audience, all of these responses are real sentences from the debates said by each candidate. Are you guys ready? Yeah? Are you guys ready? Yeah. Well, let's begin. Okay. Secretary Clinton, what is the most important thing that the country needs to know today?
Today is my granddaughter's 2nd birthday, so I think about this a lot.
Okay. Mr. Trump, what do you think of all Americans saying that they'll move to Canada if you win?
They're leaving, and they're leaving in bigger numbers than ever. Yep. We wish you a lot of luck, but if you think you're going to make your air conditioners or your cars or your cookies or whatever you make and bring them to our country without a tax, you're wrong.
Secretary Clinton, I just want to say that that's a wonderful outfit you're wearing. Who's your designer?
My father was a small businessman. He worked really hard. He printed drapery fabrics on long tables where he pulled out those fabrics and he went down with a silk screen and dumped the paint in and took the squeegee and kept going.
Okay. Well, I'll be getting a little more personal with the questions now, if you don't mind. Mr. Trump, how is your sex life going?
All talk, no action. Sounds good? Doesn't work. Never going to happen. And it's really a shame.
You actually said that. Okay. And the same question to you, Secretary Clinton.
I think my husband did a pretty good job in the 1990s.
Wrong.
I think a lot about what worked and how we can make it work again.
Mr. Trump, I don't know if you listen to current music on the radio, let's say, but what do you think of Drake's new album?
Well, I think it's terrible. It's poisoning the blood of the youth and plenty of other people, and that's not acceptable.
Secretary Clinton, what do you think is your biggest accomplishment as a presidential candidate?
So, we've taken the homepage of my website, hillaryclinton.com, and turned it into a fact checker. So if you want to see in real time what the facts are, please go and take a look.
Mr. Trump, what do you have to say about the rumors of the size of your hands?
Facts. I happen to think it's double that, and take a look at mine, and also you'll see.
Okay. Secretary Clinton, how do you think Kanye West and his followers will help your campaign?
They're on the front lines. They can provide information to us that we might not get anywhere else. They need to have close working cooperation with law enforcement in these communities, not be alienated and pushed away, as some of Donald's rhetoric has unfortunately led to.
Mr. Trump, what do you think of all the celebrity sex tapes that are being leaked across the country?
It's going to be a beautiful thing to watch, and it'll be released. They should have been doing this for years.
Do you hear yourself when you talk?
Yes.
Okay.
It's good words. Great words.
Okay. Secretary Clinton, every year Oxford announces a word of the year. There have been rumors that this year's word is going to be bigly. What do you think about that?
It is essential that America's word be good. And so I know this campaign has caused some questioning and some worries on the part of many leaders across the globe. I've talked with a number of them, but I want to, on behalf of myself, and I think on behalf of a majority of the American people, say that, our word is good.
Okay, well, this didn't make any sense. You needed a tissue, and thank you guys so much, so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll be right back with more Redlands Tonight right after this. Stay tuned. Welcome back, everybody. On the 15th of July, Turkey was shaken to the core as a military coup against the government of President Erdogan took place. Redlands senior Ariana Safci is making a mini-series which deals with the story leading up to the coup and gives her take on the future of Turkey. It's called One Nation Under Erdogan. Ariana Safchi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the show. So, talk to us about what's going on in Turkey right now.
A lot is going on. Basically, just to start off with, it kind of started in 2013 with the government being more conservative. It's like an Islamist party. And recently, though, I think it's built up. People have just kind of gotten fed up with the government, and everything that they have done has led to a coup, which some people think might have been like staged, and some people think it might have just been real, and just a lot of people being upset with the president. But there's a lot going on, and it's not really being talked about on the news or anything like that. It would be for one day. The thing that's happened, or if there's a bombing at the Istanbul airport, it's talked for one day, and then it's overlooked, and nobody sees the real problems that are going on. Well,
Speaking of being on the news, you were on the news this summer.
Yes,
so
I was.
Talk about that experience.
Yeah, it's actually kind of funny how it happened. I was driving home from work. I was stuck in a lot of LA traffic, and this was the day of the coup that was occurring. And I was switching between CNN and Fox on the radio, and they were just making me so upset. They were making the president seem like he was like glorified. Oh, this poor man, like he has to deal with all of this. And it's so untrue. He's really the cause of all these problems. And so I was like, I took it upon myself. I was like, I'm angry. And I tried to find every number for CNN, Fox, and I was just calling everybody, just calling them out and being like, you're wrong. Everything you're saying is wrong. And obviously no one's going to listen to me. So I was like, I'll just call the local channels and just make sure. I just wanted to make sure that nobody is going to make his image better, because I feel like that's what it was trying to do is, oh, this coup, this poor man. And I got in contact with Fox 11, and there was a lady that was working at the front desk. She didn't really know what was going on, actually. And I just told her, I was like...
You'd think for a news station they would know what's going on.
Yeah, I think she was just the front desk lady, but... So I told her, and she was like, we'll let everybody know. And around 9 p.m. that night, I got a call from one of the reporters, and she said, we really want to interview you and get a Turkish American's perspective of what's going on, because a lot of Turks actually won't really talk about it. And she was at LAX trying to talk to people that were coming out of incoming flights from Istanbul, and nobody really wanted to talk because it's not safe really to talk about it, but I feel as an American that I have an advantage of being able to talk about it freely without having any consequences.
So talk more about the background of what's going on, who's rising up against the government.
Yeah, it all kind of starts with Recep Tayyip Erdogan, and he's the current president since 2014. Before him was Abdullah Gül, who is also with AKP, which is the Justice Development Party, but it's the Islamist party. It's fairly new. Turkey's not really known for it, although people might think, because it's kind of in the Middle East, that it would be, and it is predominantly Muslim. They try to keep religion separate from government, like we do here in the U.S. And this party kind of was bringing back kind of the Ottoman ways of just everyone being Muslim and the government imposing, laws that would reflect that religion. And for a while, I think it kind of went under the radar, and everything that he was doing wasn't really being noticed by Turks until he started to take control of the media. And that was, I think, when people started realizing, okay, this is real. He's not just a conservative, leader. He's trying to take away our rights. He shut down, he blocked Twitter for I think it was 6 hours. He just wanted it out because of people saying bad things about him on the site. He also was able to get all the media, most of the newspapers, government controlled. So that makes everything more biased. That's what's coming out. And a lot of people got fired. I had a cousin who was a journalist, and he would appear on television shows, and kind of when you see on CNN everybody talking around the table and doing a debate. He used to do that, and he got fired because of his opposing views to the government, along with everybody else. And so it's gotten to the point now where he is so just has so much power that he can change anything he wants within the government and make people do what he wants. It's kind of like a Donald Trump, but like on a whole nother level.
Well, you know he's not going to block Twitter.
Yeah.
You know
and
he's
that's
not going to do that.
When people say, oh, Donald Trump is so bad, and it's like, I have seen so much worse than that.
Okay, so talk about what you're tackling in this film. What sections?
I wanted to make this documentary. I was looking for answers, really. I started it, I was like, I need an answer. Why is my country getting to this point? How did we get here? Is it like, how did he get elected? Is all that I just wanted to know. Because everybody that I was in contact with didn't have these views. They were opposing him. And I was so confused. I wanted to interview my family members to see what they thought about, do they think women in Turkey have equal rights to men? And all those kind of questions that would have to be like issues, political issues that we talk about here in the U.S. And I ended up not really getting an answer that I was looking for, but rather just learning more about the culture of Turkey and how that plays in part to how he is gotten to power and how there are actually people who do support him and they're very vocal about it. And I think I just put blinders on to just think that he was just this terrible person, that everybody hated him. But I learned that there's actually a majority of people in Turkey who follow him, and that's how it got to that point.
Now, you were going to make a documentary, right? But now it's a mini-series.
It's a mini-series for the reason that I feel like it's unfinished, and it always will be unfinished. And a mini documentary series allows me to put things into episodes, but I can do seasons as long as I want because it's such an ongoing problem. I filmed this documentary like a year and a half ago, and since I have this footage, so many other things have happened. The terrorist attack in Istanbul, the coup, and so many other things, especially in like the U.S. that have happened, that have affected the way that I want my documentary to go. So I feel like it's easier to put it into the episodes so that people can kind of go along the journey with me because I don't know where it's really taking me.
And where is it going to be? Are you publishing this?
Probably I'm going to do like a Vimeo online because I like the idea of everybody having access to it. I think it would be best so that not people just here in the U.S., but my relatives can access it as well. I think it's so important. And I think people brush off the idea of social media here in the U.S. because they think it's just something that's destroyed everything. But in Turkey, it is their one way to communicate across, like, the ocean that there's problems going on there because the government is just silencing it. And it would be the best way for me to give my documentary to them and for them to see that it's going to make a difference.
Well, I've seen the trailer. It looks fantastic. And thank you so much for being here, being our second guest.
Thank
More
you.
Redlands Tonight right after this. Welcome back. I'm sure that many of you know my next guest. Chloe Conrad is one of the co-Greek representatives for ASUR Cabinet, the song chair of Delta Kappa Psi, a communicative disorders major, and she also sings in her spare time. Would you all please welcome Chloe Conrad. Thank you so much for being here. Well, it's finally here. You finally get a chance to sit down. What made you want to get involved in Greek life?
Well, I've been really involved since I came to the U of R. I was really involved in social affairs, and then I had a lot of people that I knew that I looked up to that were involved in Greek life and very committed to it. So I figured I'd rush. It was another opportunity for more social experience. So it worked out really well, and I'm really happy in it.
So why Delta?
I felt the most comfortable there. So people ask you all the time, why did you choose this organization, or what organization should I choose? And it really is kind of about the feel. If you feel the most comfortable at a certain organization, that's probably going to be the best fit for you, regardless of how many people you know in other organizations.
What's been one of the most favorite experience from your, how many, 3 years you've been in it so far?
This is my, I think I joined as a sophomore, so sophomore, yeah, this is my third year.
Okay.
I think one of my favorite experiences was coming back from being abroad and feeling like there was a place held for me kind of while I was gone, and like I was thought of. And so getting to reestablish those connections, coming back and meeting girls that we had brought into our organization while I was gone was really cool.
Where did you go?
Salzburg.
And what was that like?
I don't know how to sum it up.
I'm going there in May. I really want to know.
Yeah, it was such an incredible. So many countries are just at your fingertips, and it's so easy to go from one place to another. You just like hop on a train, and oftentimes they don't even check your passport. Like, it's so easy.
That doesn't seem safe at
all.
Well,
yeah, probably not. Well, mine was in English, so that probably said something. But it was just such an incredible experience to be able to just travel so freely and not have a lot of responsibility.
Where else did you go?
I went to Germany, the Czech Republic, a little ski town in Austria, Bosnia, Croatia. I could go on.
Well, at the ski town, did you ski?
I did. Well, I snowboarded.
Okay.
But
How long have you been snowboarding?
Since.
I'm so jealous. I would die. I would just fall down the whole mountain.
And you'd think people who know me well know that I'm not very coordinated, and sports are not something that I excel at. But snowboarding I can kind of manage, and it was the beginning of the season, so there's only so many lifts open. So the last run of the mountain was actually extremely steep and not what we were anticipating. And all of us hadn't really engaged in that kind of activity in a long time. So it was definitely a challenge, but it was fun to kind of be in a completely different setting. And it was cold, and that was like the first time we had kind of really been in the snow. Since I went in the fall, we didn't have a lot of really cold weather, so it was cool to kind of go and get to see that.
Let me ask you, what were you studying while you were in Salzburg?
So we go to different symphonies and operas and performances, and you study German, you study their music, you study their art. There's tons of museums that we went to, and we had professors that live in Austria that work with the U of R and work with the Salzburg program, and you develop relationships with them because they travel with you, and you can tell that they're so passionate about what they want to teach you about. And so it's really cool to get to travel with them to the museums and things to hear about what they like most and what they're most interested in at this museum or this country.
So you mentioned when you came back, Delta was very accepting and all of that. What were your duties? What were you involved in? Not duties. What were you involved in when you came back?
So when I came back, I wasn't extremely involved position-wise.
I see you everywhere. You're doing stuff all the time.
Yeah, I was still involved in social affairs. It was cool because I was able to go abroad and then come back and still have a director's position. And so I was really involved in that, and that was really nice. It was a hard adjustment, I think, coming back to having more responsibilities and more little meetings and things to attend to. And then I decided to run for a Greek representative position and go a little higher up in student government. And so that's definitely been a change, and that's been really cool to be able to represent not just my organization, but the Greek community.
And what are your duties as that director?
So there are 2 Greek representatives, and I represent the sororities. So we attend Greek Council, we attend cabinet meetings. We kind of bring a Greek perspective into student government in the meetings, but we also bring that information back to Greek life so that they're filled in on what's going on. And right now we're working a lot with the school on the party policy and making things more accessible for students. And so it's really just kind of being that liaison between Greek life and student government.
What are your goals for this semester, or this year rather, as you're in this position?
I think what we've been working on this semester is really trying to have more opportunities on campus for students who want to go out and want to be in that social setting. And so we've really had a big change from where we were in September to where we are now, where there's a lot more happening on campus, and there's a lot more opportunities, especially for freshmen who maybe don't have as much access to the Greek houses or to that social scene. So now that they have an opportunity to go meet some people and see if they would potentially want to rush or just have an outlet for that kind of social setting.
What's a song chair?
So Delta is going to be 106 years old this year, so we're very old. And we have a lot of songs that are really important to our history. And so a song chair is basically just in charge of helping teach the new girls the songs, and also making sure that the actives are still like in touch with them. Like we sing during Rush. Almost all of the sororities have some songs that they sing during Rush. So song chair is just kind of there to make sure everyone isn't forgetting the melodies. And
where did your interest in music begin?
all 4 years in high school, I did theater, and I really liked performing, and that was the first time that I ever sang in front of an audience, and that wasn't something I had done a lot of prior to high school. And so then I came to the U of R, and I auditioned for, what is now Redlands Rhapsodies, used to be Sweet Charity, and so I did the a cappella group my freshman year, and then as time progressed, I didn't have as much time to commit to that. And I got more involved with Greek life. And then when I went abroad, there was a big emphasis on music there. And so I kind of got back into it. When I came back, I did a lunchtime concert. And that was the first time I kind of performed at Redlands in an outdoor setting, not just in like the music hall. So that was really cool.
Was that lunchtime performance just this year?
Well, there was one last spring and then one this year during orientation that I did with a different friend. So.
Well, it was such a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much
for
being on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Well, everybody stay tuned. We're going to have a performance by the Redlands Rhapsodies right after this. Just stay tuned. We'll see you in a minute. Thank you. Thank you so much, Carlos. I really appreciate it. For you guys by one of two a cappella groups at the University of Redlands. The Redlands Rhapsodies are made up of 13 talented and diverse women. This group shines with its performances of hits from the past and present. They bring together women from all around who study different topics in school but share one common love, making and performing music. Now take it away, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming. Until next time, we'll see you then. Good night.